policymakers. On this chart, the shorter the bar, the better. We did what's called a survival analysis. I won't bore you with the statistics. The strongest predictor of who will survive high school is 9th grade grade point average. Duh. Right? Smarter you are in high school, 9th grade, more likely you are to finish. Second strongest predictor, look over to the right-hand side. 2 bars, boys, girls. The short yellow bar is boys. The second strongest predictor for boys of finishing high school is more than 3 credits in career and technical education. These are national data. These are average effects. This includes crappy programs and cool programs. Average effects. Doesn't have the same effect for girls. It's a non-significant finding, which means they can do it, does no harm, doesn't add value like it does for boys. Third strongest predictor is a random collection of more than 3. There are lots of other variables in the model, by the way. On the far left, if you're overage coming into high school, statistically you're toast. I mean, statistically. I know there's lots of really heroic programs that do a lot with overage young people coming into 9th grade. And some of them work, but on average, they are quite challenged. Labor market effects for boys, for men. 2 age cohorts. The blue line, hard to see in the slide, 21 to 25, red line's 26 to 30. The labor market engagement since 2000 for boys and men, young men, has been going down. Long-term consequences of this, we don't even want to think about. By the way, it's not just our work and the work of others in the field of education. Labor market economists, such as Harry Holzer and his group at Georgetown University, point out that one of the best programs, best approaches we have for keeping young people in school is career and technical education, high quality, especially for at-risk kids. They run the Center for Law and Poverty. So, here are 3 skill sets you need to think about. I'm going to have to go through these pretty quickly. The occupational expression of academics. This is what career and technical education can do. That math, that science, the literacy skills play out in real time in a good career and technical education program, classroom. Personal effectiveness and foundational workforce competencies. Think scans. How many remember scans? Look it up. It's still one of the best collections of things to think about. Secretary's Commission on Achieving Necessary Skills. It was a commission put together by George Bush the Elder. Looked at things, had foundational competencies, but he looked at things like systems knowledge, systems thinking. Soft skills for sure, but you know what that commission came up with? Teaching skills, negotiation skills. These are skills necessary in today's workplace. 21st century skills, we've heard that too much. The point is that there's a collection of non-cognitive behavioral things that we can build in career and technical education that are extraordinarily difficult to build in traditional academic classrooms. And then finally, employers hire technical stuff. They hire this, they fire on that. Okay, I'm getting to number 5. I got to move really fast. I'm only halfway through. I've delayed too long. So we've done some work in curriculum integration. I'll send you this information. Would argue that you should be doing all 3 pedagogies in your career tech programs, secondary, post-secondary. Classroom instruction, work-based learning, and these student organizations. All are pedagogies. Those CTSOs aren't clubs. It's a way of teaching and helping kids master those non-behavioral cognitive things as well as the technical and academic. Okay, we've learned a lot from the math. It works. It's powerful. Where's my computer? Come on. But we're also seeking new money all the time, and federal money is getting harder to get to support research, so we go out on weekends. We've tested 2 approaches to improving literacy skills, random assignment, rigorous kind of science. Again, we're trying to deal with communication skills in the workplace. This is particularly true if you're going through the airport with TSA. A long story. Again, signage is always a problem, and don't shoplift here. That's all I can say. Our science stuff, we found no overall effect. Again, random assignment, kind of experimental design stuff. Although we did find a significant effect for some subgroups, which is an interesting paper to write, but doesn't help us figure out what to do in terms of policy or practice. But we are committed to dealing with this problem in American society, the inability to connect human behavior with observable results. Save the 50 bucks, run them down the stairs 6 times, scream Rocky, and go home. Work-based learning, a lot of research there. Again, if you're not doing it, if it's not linked to what you're doing in the classroom, you're not doing your job, you're not doing high-quality career technical education. We've done research in CTSOs, skip through that. We have a lot of research on transitions, work with me, good labor market stuff, and transition stuff to education. Again, average effects kind of data, very positive. So, here's my argument. You got to build a system. You can't just dink around with parts. Step back, look at the entire system. Secondary, post-secondary, part business, industry, and I would argue labor, although that's not such a big deal in many places. They all have to come together as a system. However, especially for your high school folks, it is tough to be all things to all people. You run into some real challenges. Let you think about this one for a minute. Well, I heard groans. You will get your dog back. See, my first degree's in marketing, and obviously I was a failure. So, however, Paul Barton makes a very interesting argument. Labor market economist at ETS, Education Testing Services. This is a point he makes. If you look at the data, for a majority of kids who start 9th grade, high school's it. That's it. If you look at the data, right now 40–45% actually get some post-secondary credential of any kind. So high school's got to matter. We can't ignore that. We can't assume every kid's going to then go off to community or technical or 4-year college, because an awful lot of them don't. And if we're not giving them the preparation to become successful adults at the end of high school, we are not doing our job. So, if you want to know everything else that you ever wanted to know, buy my book. Soon to be a major motion picture. I'm negotiating with Meryl Streep to play me. I like Meryl. You can buy this online. It's like 20 bucks or something. By the way, buy the hardcover. It's like 65 bucks. Okay. So, this is where I live. I will give you a set of these to Eric or Jixie. And she can make them available. Or if you want to send me an email and engage in a conversation or get direct mail from me, please do that. I'll also add you to my spam list. And you'll get periodic mailings on things of interest. Constant Contact handles that for us, and they tell us that we have the lowest dropout rate of any of the spam lists they manage. So it tends to be interesting stuff. Anyway, I'm done. Questions? We have 2 minutes. Oh, yes, sir.
The idea, I don't know this good at all. The idea of teaching the same concept, Algebra 1 is the same Algebra 1 throughout the country. What you've been saying is kind of teaching specialized. What are your thoughts on having the test that are commonly taught?
Actually, at one level, I think it's a good idea. And the reason, okay, two questions in the one. Could you all hear? He's asking about the Common Core and testing. The Common Core represents an effort to do something that occurs in every other nation in the world. And that is, there's a kind of standard education that everybody gets. I think we need to, I would argue we need to do that. Whether the Common Core in its entirety represents that's a separate question. And the testing, again, if you look at many of our economic competitors, they test kids in what is the equivalent of our middle school that projects whether they go into a TVET system or to college prep. Now, we'll never do that, despite the efficiency of the system. And the fact that those kids who go the TVET route are more and more coming back to college now after that. So, I mean, but anyway. So the question of testing, the problem with tests is they drive the curriculum. So the Common Core has some great ideas. Again, look mostly at math. They've got the 10 or 12 things, basically using math to solve real problems. Terrific idea. And then you go in and look at the requirement for essentially calculus for everybody. What? some disconnect there in my head. But having